My name is Victor. I'm one of the product specialists on the PM team on the switching side. And today we're really here to talk about, of course, Meraki switches for the campus. So today the agenda includes an intro to cloud networking, talking about how Meraki can really simplify your network, a product demo where you really see how Meraki works and how we can really simplify your network and see that in action. I will also go over the product family as well as a Q&A at the end. Definitely, I think you should be able to also ask questions throughout this webinar. There should be a chat box somewhere on your screen there where you can ask those questions. Some housekeeping before we start. For those who attend this webinar, there is a free switch for IT professionals. Specifically, you need to be an IT professional, not a partner, reseller, or consultant. Make sure you register with your company email, as well as confirm that shipping address with your Meraki rep. For those who are K-12, public libraries, or public sector, will not be eligible to receive a free switch after this webinar, unfortunately, but definitely reach out to get a free product evaluation. If you have not already connected with your Meraki rep, make sure to do that. You can find their contact info in the Cisco Meraki, the webinar reminder. There you'll find their contacts, and that's how you will confirm your shipping address for that free switch if you are eligible. If you're questioning your eligibility, definitely contact them as well to see if you are eligible. Now let's start off a little bit about Cisco Meraki. We are a complete cloud-managed IT solution with wireless switching, security, communications, enterprise mobile management, as well as security cameras. Everything we have today have integrated hardware and software with our cloud services. We are a leader among cloud-managed networks, among Cisco's fastest-growing portfolio, and really one of those things where we are really ingrained into Cisco's roadmap as well as Cisco's future here, with over 250,000 unique customers and over 3.5 million Meraki network devices online today. One of the things about cloud management that a lot of people question, specifically on the security aspect, is how much data do you really collect from the user traffic? And what you can see on the left-hand side here is really showing the only traffic that passes through the Meraki cloud is management data. So aren't many privacy concerns in terms of sniffing the traffic that goes through your network. Specifically, user traffic passes through your network like usual, whereas the only thing that can pass through the Meraki dashboard is that management data. Now, with that out-of-band cloud management, we manage that through, of course, our intuitive, simple browser-based dashboard, cloud-hosted, and it is a centralized management platform. It's highly scalable with unlimited throughput, no bottlenecks. Add devices or sites in minutes. There's really no need for you as the admin to add extra devices into your network just for management's sake. Here, it's scalable. It's all done through the Meraki dashboard. It's highly reliable with multiple data centers around the world. Network functionality is not interrupted if connection to the cloud is lost. And in those times where we try to keep an uptime SLA of 4 nines, so most of the time you will never see any issues on that dashboard. And even when you do, of course, again, your user traffic is not interrupted. We strive to be secure. Again, no user traffic passes through the cloud. We're fully HIPAA and PCI compliant, third-party security audits, and daily penetration testing. And we also provide automatic firmware and security updates to your devices so that we cover all our bases there in terms of security. For more information, definitely check out meraki.cisco.com/trust. Now, where do we really fit in terms of networks? We definitely fit in across multiple industries. We can see here a bunch of public sector as well as campus networks that are using Meraki today. But why do they choose us? Why why do customers choose Cisco Meraki? And the main thing is that intuitive centralized management. There's no training required, no complex command lines, seamless control across all your sites, regardless of how many sites you have. It could be really across the country, across the state, across the county, wherever that may be, you can seamlessly control your devices. With the dashboard, you can also do packet captures, live tools, and diagnostics. We'll show that a little bit in the demo and see how powerful that is today. It's easy to deploy, manage, and configure. We call it a single pane of glass of visibility on all your devices. We also have zero-touch provisioning, which means that you can provision all your devices without having to ever touch the device. And how that really works is the dashboard is your configuration, and once the Meraki switch, access point, firewall connects to the internet and connects to the dashboard, it will grab that configuration directly from the dashboard, the exact configuration that you've already configured on the dashboard. So no need to even touch your Cisco Meraki devices. We also provide seamless updates through the cloud. I'll go through that as well in the demo and see exactly how easy it is to push firmware upgrades to your network without having to even be on site or without even having to be awake. We can schedule those upgrades. They're very, very simple. We also provide industry-leading visibility, ability to fingerprint users, applications, and devices, network-wide monitoring alerts, as well as providing that full-stack complete solution where you really get a lot more visibility as you install more Meraki devices. And all of this, the great thing about all of these features is it's straight out of the box. There are no extra software or licensing that is required. All of this comes in our dashboard today. We also strive for ongoing feature updates, specifically delivered through the cloud. And there are really two types of updates. The first one is obviously dashboard updates, that dashboard that you access where you can control your devices. We periodically add new features as well as update what we have to provide more functionality to you through those updates. We also provide features through firmware updates, and how we really develop our hardware and our devices is we make sure that they are feature-proof, so that when we do develop a feature, we can simply push an update to those devices and that feature will be available. The great thing about these features as well is we will never charge extra for these features, firmware updates, as long as a valid license is in that network. We will push those upgrades and you will get those updates no problem. So now let's jump into exactly how Cisco Meraki can help you manage your network, specifically multi-site management, network security, modernizing your deployment, as well as high availability. And that ease of management is really what gets most of our Cisco Meraki customers today, is the ability to pre-configure networks before they're plugged in, what we call zero-touch provisioning, as well as pre-provisioning. And it scales very quickly with no bottlenecks on that dashboard. You can see here on the map one of our customers that has devices across the country, but where they can manage and manage the network, as well as see the visibility into the network traffic no matter where they are. All of this, of course, is done through the intuitive web-based dashboard, and you can oversee really all your Meraki devices no matter where they are, no matter where you are, really. We also provide integrated logging, alerts, and anomaly detection. Again, all of this is out of the box. We talked about that a little bit previously, but we give a lot of detail in network reporting, and we provide a lot of information from real-time analytics to you in a fashion that is readable. So you can see here, one of the examples is an alert where clients have high usage, as well as the exact statistics as to how much traffic is passing through your network. Again, all this out of the box and very simple to read. We gather a lot of raw data in terms of analytics, and we try to provide that in a way that it is readable, where you do not need to crunch your own numbers. In terms of simplifying that multi-site management as well, we provide a lot of features such as virtual stacking, which I'll talk about in a bit in our demo to show you exactly how powerful that is, but it's really the ability to configure multiple switch ports across multiple switches with a couple clicks of a button. Easy deployment management, we always go through this again. Know that zero-touch provisioning, being able to provision all your sites, very simple, as well as those built-in troubleshooting tools, remote pack captures, the local status page if you ever need to locally manage the device, which is fairly rare, as well as cable test tools. We also strive for enhancement on the network security side, locking down that wire LAN. And a lot of public sector, a lot of campus networks have seen a demand for that security at the wire. So with .1x access policies, we have a lot of options today, very easily allow ports with those NAC solutions, as well as simple ACLs that provide that will be pushed really to all your switches and very simple to do, and I'll show that as well in the demo. Reducing that window of exposure, we have a feature that we'll go through as well called port scheduling, where you can really turn off a port during specific times of day, and that really covers multiple use cases. Again, really where we'll see this, and keep stressing this, but the demo is really where you're going to see all that magic. We're also capable of deploying, modern enterprise applications today. We have full support for 802.11 AC Wave 2 wireless devices with that PoE Plus, as well as some of our switches that have M-gig options, meaning we can provide 10 gigs of bandwidth over an existing copper cable. So that's always looking to strive and support next generation technology. Also, VoIP technology and VoIP deployments, CDP v2 support, LDP, as well as QoS on the voice traffic, also very simple to deploy with the Cisco Meraki solution. And of course, with campus networks, we always want to avoid downtime and client disruption. So today we offer options like physical stacking, VRP, as well as those failover mechanisms to those layer 3 functions for routing, DHCP, IP services, and technology like that. So definitely also have that option in terms of providing that resiliency in that campus network that most networks require today. Now let's jump into the demo, and we'll see exactly how Cisco Meraki can help really your network and how we can make networks simple. Now here, I'm just going to jump straight into the dashboard. Really, you type in, to get to the dashboard, you type in dashboard.meraki.com, and that really just takes you to the login page where you log into your dashboard. Once you log in, what you'll really see is the ability to, that map that we saw earlier of all the networks. You can see here we have a couple of networks at Cisco Meraki. We have our San Francisco office, we have our Shanghai office, we have our Sydney office, as well as our London office, and that's how we really provide that 24/7 technical support with all those offices there. Now you can also drill in deeper. You'll see that it's a bit red, and most of that really is just some of our devices that are offline. But if we drill deeper into our Cisco Meraki offices and also our other smaller locations, we can dig deeper and see what devices are online, what devices are offline, and all that great stuff. Now let's jump into what everyone has joined this webinar for, specifically switches, and we're going to look at switches in the Cisco Meraki San Francisco office that we are sitting in right now. Specifically, we'll see what visibility we can get from the Cisco Meraki dashboard. I'm just going to quickly click into a switch, and what you'll notice here once you click into the switch is that visibility into the ports, being able to visualize exactly how ports are plugged into your switch, as well as getting some information as to how well your switch is running. So what I can do is I click into the switch ports, and what they'll show is the native VLAN, all the configuration, the status, the usage, the CDP information, power draws, things like that, all from just the dashboard. We can see other switches as well. So we have 350s, we have our core switches, but let's jump into actually probably a switch that I'm on right now to give you some visibility. So let's find a switch. Now I've loaded up the switch. The great thing is we can simply, if you really need to, if you're connected to a Meraki network, you could just type switch.meraki.com, and that will actually bring you to the first switch you're connected to. And from there, we can see exactly what switch I'm on and the switch port. So closet 4.1.7, port 20. Now from here, what we can really see is, again, that visibility into a real switch. We can see if a device has PoE, if a device has alerts, things like CSC errors. Very easily visualize the actual aspect of your switching infrastructure. Now, when we click into the switch, I talked about the configuration as well as CDP, PoE usage, clients, as well as some basic troubleshooting tools. But you can very easily, from the dashboard, if you need to configure a switch port, hit the Edit Port button, and from here you can configure your port, PoE, access port, trunk port. Very simple from a UI instant like this. Now, the great thing about the cloud and where we really deliver a lot of that value is that easy configuration. And it may, as you configure switch ports, and how I just showed you how to configure a switch port, it may be simple to just quickly go to that switch port and make the configuration. But as you configure larger networks, it gets a lot more difficult and tedious having to click, of course, every single switch port, right, to make those configurations. So what Cisco Meraki has developed is what we call virtual stacking. And it's not necessarily, the traditional term of stacking, but really explains how we configure a switch as if it was in a stack. And from here, what you'll see is that in our office, we have 152 switches, and that equates to 7,121 switch ports. In a traditional deployment, how you would configure these ports specifically is by obviously going to each switch or writing some sort of script to configure multiple switch ports. But of course, you still need to know exactly what those switch ports you want to configure are, as well as its configuration. The great thing about the dashboard here is if, let's say we want to configure every single switch port in my network, I can quickly select all the switch ports, click Edit, and make any changes. For example, add an access policy. But of course, we can even go deeper. We can use the search functionality to find specific switch ports. Now, this one is a bit, this one is kind of odd and probably no one will ever use. But let's say port 5, I can search and get port 5 of every single switch, specifically 152 switch ports in my network. Hit select all, click Edit, and I can update every single port, which is port 5 on every switch in my network, regardless of exactly where they are. And that's really showing that power of the cloud. Now, I could go even deeper and get a little bit advanced. Let's, for example, I want to find every single MR access point in my network, or every single MR access point that is connected to a switch port. So I can use LLDP, and I can type in MR, and that will bring up every single MR access point that is connected in my network. And that's 161 switch ports connected to an access point. From here, again, select all, click Edit, and now I'm able to make my edits. I can add an access policy. I can change the port speed, change the VLAN. Maybe I'm doing a VLAN migration. I can do all that very simple just from the dashboard in a couple clicks. Really something you could not do with any other solution. And we can quickly find a lot of, with this search, you can see there are a lot of search criteria that we can do, and from here we can really find a lot of things. And this is what we call virtual stacking, really shows the power of using a cloud-based solution. Now let's go back to the switch port. Specifically, I believe the switch port that I am connected to, you can see that that's my laptop, that's my IP address, and all that great stuff. But we can also do a lot more in terms of from here, clicking the actual client, which brings up the client view. Now, in this client view, we can see a lot of different things in terms of analytics. exactly what's happening. So you can see I'm on this WebEx, so it's showing that I'm using most of my traffic is WebEx traffic. Other miscellaneous secure web, most likely the dashboard here, as well as other traffic. But I could also go show details, and it'll show me exactly what I'm accessing. Now, this is blurred out for me because I'm not an administrator on my network here, but as an administrator, you would see exactly what those URLs are, so you can get a better idea of what's happening in your network. Now, of course, there was that link, right, between the actual switch port to my client. I can do the inverse as well, and from what we were just showing here, it shows me exactly what switch port I'm connected to, closet 4.1.2. If I click that, really what it'll do is it'll bring me to port 20, where I actually was just at, that led me to the client page. So everything here is connected, and we try to make it easy for you to see the analytics in your network. And we can go even further, specifically with a Meraki full stack solution. Now, let's, for example, find a wireless client, because that's where we'll see the power there. We'll go to our clients, right? Of course, from this overview clients view, we can see every client in your network. Again, those application visibility, as well as the traffic flowing through your network. You see most people coming to the office starting at 6, and then they drop off around 4 to 5 to 6. Well, let's choose a wireless client. Here is a wall board. Not exactly sure what that is, but a wireless client nonetheless. We'll see the application that it's doing. Of course, some YouTube, some UDP. But from here, we can dig into how this client is connected in your network. Specifically, with that full stack solution, you can see end to end to your edge exactly how this is connected. So from here, we can see that it is connected to 2.1.0. And we can also, then what that'll do is it'll bring you to that access point, so 2.1.0. Now, from that access point, we know that it's connected to a Meraki switch, because if we go here on the Ethernet side, we'll see that it's connected to port 45. And again, if I click that, what that'll do is it'll bring me to port 45 on that switch. Now, if I'm troubleshooting any clients, this gives me a lot of visibility into exactly how my network's connected, how that wireless connection connects to the rest of my network through the wire. From here, we can also see that it connects to its root through closet 2.1.21.52, and we can see that this is a stack switch, so that is through another stack member. But another thing as well is the ability to see the topology of your network. Now, what I did was, from here, if I click Wallboard 2.0, I click topology, that brings up this page here, which highlights the whole path. And let's see if we can find it here. Right here, 2.10, right? That's connected from this topology view. We can see that it's connected from port 0, which is the only port on that access point, to port 45 on 2.2.20. Now, if we keep going, we'll see that that switch stack is actually uplinked from port 52 to port 22 to the core switch. The great thing about all of this is, and if I remove this, you'll see the rest of the network, is that this is available if you have a Meraki full stack, getting that visibility. And all of this topology page is generated automatically when you add your devices and connect your devices and get them online. So what you can see in this page, you'll see access points, you'll see the cameras, you'll see other switch stacks, other access points, phones, and you can see exactly how all of those devices are connected. So it's very simple to see exactly, where a device is connected and how it's connected to the network. And of course, all of this is dynamic. And the great thing about a dynamic topology view here is if you make a change, that change is reflected here. No longer do we need to manually open up something like Visio to create a drawing of your network. And of course, someone will inevitably make a change in the next week, so then you have to update your topology again. All of this straight from your dashboard in the topology view, out of the box, very simple. Now, another technology we also added on currently in beta, but just an example of some of the things that we like to develop, is the layer 3 topology page. Now, this is layer 1, layer 2, because you can see exactly, how your devices are connected. But now if we go into the layer 3 topology, we'll see the actual subnets and the actual layer 3 switches in your network. So from here, we can see Core 1 has all of these networks as well as routes, which this subnet, we can see that it's VLAN 304 and it only has one client. VLAN 303 has 7, and so on. And of course, seeing the transit VLANs and how they connect specifically from switch to switch, where we can see exactly how that is connected from a layer 3 standpoint. Again, all of this is dynamic and very easy to understand, where we can give you very simple visibility into your network that way. So that's some of the great technologies that we have specifically on the Meraki dashboard. Now, other features that we have today, we'll go back to the switch ports here. Let's close out some of those tabs, make sure I don't need any of these, but we can do other things. For example, run a cable test. We can do cycle a port. So, for example, I'm just going to do it here. I can click run a cable test, and that will return to me with best effort if there is a bad cable. Here we see the 1 gig length. It's about 100 meters in length, and all the pairs are okay. If you have a bad cable, you will definitely see some errors there. If I wanted to, sometimes turning things on and off definitely fixes issues as well. So we can click cycle a port, and that allows us to cycle the port there. Other tools as well, obviously ping tools, reboot device, blink LEDs, very helpful in times when you do need someone on hand and you need to figure out a switch. You could click blink an LED and someone can walk into a closet and see a switch blinking. Throughput test, MTR cable test, you could do a cable test throughout the whole switch, and that'll give you multiple results. Cycle multiple ports as well, your MAC forwarding table, as well as wake on LAN availability on the switch as well. Now, one of the most powerful troubleshooting tools that we have today on the Meraki dashboard is that ability to run a packet capture. Now, I click this, it's going to bring me to this packet capture page. I could choose switch. I'm on switch 4.1.7, port 20. What I can do is I could quickly just download a packet capture. Now, the great thing about this is you could do this remotely regardless of where you are. And this is available on all our products. So switches, access points, security appliances, phones, cameras. We can run a packet capture anywhere, be it a coffee shop, at the airport, in your own home. Very simple. Just click a button. It downloads a PCAP. You open it up, and you can dig and see exactly what is happening throughout your network. And this is a packet capture of my laptop right now. So you'll definitely see a lot of traffic over to our WebEx, most of these packets here, and even dig deeper to see exactly what's going on. But very simple, able to run a packet capture and see exactly what's flowing through your network if you do need to troubleshoot. Now, other great technologies and things that we make simple, things like DHCP servers. This is really DHCP snooping, and it applies globally to every switch in your network. Here we can say, by default, we want to block all DHCP servers or allow all DHCP servers. Right now we have a block, so only these whitelisted DHCP servers are allowed to serve IP addresses. Very simple, right? By default, it is allow all, but once you click block, put the whitelist in, it applies to every single switch in your network. So here, 152 switches just with a click of a button being able to configure DHCP snooping. We can also see a lot of statistics on the DHCP side, exactly who's heading it out, what those packets look like, specifically the client IP, as well as what it's advertising as its subnet mask, its default gateway, things like that, as well as the policy. Now let me see if there's any blocked. There are no blocked policies, but let's say, for example, this is a device that should not be should not be sending out or providing or delivering an IP address, we can just say, click here, block, and that blocks this client. So very simple to configure something, and also visibility into exactly who is sending out IP addresses, so that you can block those rogue DHCP servers to better, really to better secure your network that way. Routing is also very simple. If we go into the routing page, we can quickly add SVIs or really anything to your network. Just type in the name, the subnet, the IP address, default gateway, if you want multicast routing, the VLAN, as well as if you want a DHCP server on this switch. Very simple. Click run a DHCP server and you're done. Here, if you want to add to the OSPF area, just click that and save. Now you're done. So very simple. You can add layer 3 interface to any switch, any layer 3 switch on your network. So very simple there. In addition, there are things like IPv4 ACLs. We also support IPv6 as well today on our latest beta firmware. But here you'll see the ability to configure ACLs globally. So the great thing about this is these two rules are actually applied to all 152 switches, so that you don't need to go to every switch to apply the ACL. And here we can easily make sure that all the ACLs are aligned with what is required in your network. We talked about wired.1x as well previously on the slides. Very simple to configure as well. Put in your radius server, select your option. COA is just as simple as clicking enabled, and COA is now enabled in your network. Your host modes, single host, multi-domain. We also support multi-host as well as multi-auth in our latest beta firmware as well. So a lot of development on that side. .1x, MAB, or hybrid authentication with a guest VLAN. Very simple to configure. Once you have your NAC solutions configured on the switch side, again, this applies to all 152 switches, so no need to configure a secret or make sure all the switches have the same configurations. All of it is done on this one page. And then once you create your policy, go back to that. Go back to the virtual stacking page here. Click edit, and you can obviously here access policies. Choose the policy that you have today, that you want to configure. We talked about port scheduling as well. Port scheduling allows you to configure switch ports to be on at a specific interval. So let's say the office or the school or whatever it may be is only open from 8 to 5. You want to make sure that it is locked down after 5 and before 8. So what you can do is create a policy, and what that will do when applied to switch port is it will turn off those switch ports outside the office hours. And what that really provides is security, so no one can access your network when the office is closed, as well as power savings on the access points. There really shouldn't be anyone connected to the network at those times, so why leave those access points on drawing power? You can really save on your energy bill if you turn those access points off, and you could do that with the port scheduling as well. Other great configuration where we make things easy, the ability to quickly set your FTP route, your management IP. QoS is also very simple, and again, all of these apply to every single switch, so no need to go into each switch to configure these. The MTU as well as some multicast settings, all done on this page here. Very, very simple. In some of our previous slides, now those are really most of the switch features. There's definitely a lot more. If you're interested in going deeper into the switch, definitely contact your sales rep and your SE to dig a bit more. But I wanted to now jump over to how easy it is we make firmware updates. Now, if we go to firmware upgrades, the great thing about firmware upgrades on our end is you can simply choose any network you want to update. So you'll actually see the firmware list as well. So here we can see all the firmware versions, the release candidates, as well as the beta firmware that we have today. And we can simply, let's just say we want all our switches, right? We want to upgrade them, all our switches, to another version. What we can do is we can select all, click schedule upgrades, and we'll see that we can schedule specific target versions. So I can say I want to go latest beta, click next, and then schedule that upgrade for a specific time. And that could be any time. It could be next Friday at 1 a.m. That will allow us to push that firmware upgrade automatically from the dashboard to all of these networks on March 16th at 1 a.m. So super simple and very easy to do. Now, even going further on the switching side, we have something called staged upgrades. And we understand in campus networks, we may not want every single switch to upgrade at the same time because that brings down your network. So here we have the ability to schedule individual, and you'll see that we actually did this on our corporate network back in December, is the ability to schedule multiple switches to specific windows. So here you can see these switches upgraded at 12 a.m., these switches upgraded at 12:02, these switches upgraded at 12:04. So being able to stagger your upgrades to make sure that there is availability in your network is very easy. We can also schedule rollbacks. So let's say something goes wrong, you can do that as well. And what this staged upgrade also provides is the ability to test our firmware before you apply it en masse to the rest of your network. But again, that really is the ability to simply push firmware to all your devices, regardless of where they are, without having to, physically put in a USB stick or having to set up a FTP server or TFTP server to grab the firmware. All of it is delivered through the cloud as long as they have access to the internet. So very simple there. Now, I talked about how easy it is to configure everything, but we also have further developments in the sense that really the whole industry is striving towards APIs. And today, we also have the ability to do all of these configurations through the APIs that we have today. And you can definitely go to create.meraki.io or developers.meraki.com, and you can see all the solutions that we have today, as well as what we've built as from our SE. So our SE community does a lot of API work as well. So here you can see Shay, one of our SEs, have actually created Alexa or added Alexa integration. And it gives, what he'll give you as well is a step-by-step instructions as to how to integrate that into your network as well, where we can add, for example, Alexa, ask Meraki, right? Ask Meraki why my internet is slow, and we'll give you some options there. Very powerful in terms of the tool sets we have in our APIs today. Other great tools that is great as well is the Captive Portal API for guests, as well as the scanning API where we can see a lot of analytics from our access points. And a great thing, a cool tip about our access points is we are the largest vendor of Bluetooth beacons because we have a beacon in every single access point. So with that, you can really get some analytics as to who is entering your building, how many people, and who's waiting in line, how fast do people leave the building, etc. So that's most of the demo today. I'm going to head back into my slide and go over the product line overview that we have today. So here's our layer 2 switch portfolio. We have our 120s in the beginning with that compact switch, as well as a full-size 24 to 48 port switch. These are really your general layer 2 PoE plus 1 gig SFP switches. One thing to note, all our switches are PoE plus today, so they support really any modern PoE deployment. Moving down, we see the 210. What the 210 adds is layer 3 static routing, as well as 80 gig stacking with an optional RPS. So great for those access layer, if you need access layer 2 switch without and don't really need all those bells and whistles. Now the 225, you can actually stack this with the 210 as well, but it provides you a 10 gig SFP plus uplink. So what you can really do is buy 4 210s and buy one 225 at the head end and use that 10 gig uplink, but still stack it as if they were one switch there. Moving on to our layer 3 switches, we start with the 250. This is our full dynamic layer 3 with OSPF. 10 gig SFP plus uplinks, as well as 80 gig stacking and modular power supply. So redundancy in terms of power, where you could swap one out and put another one in. With the 350, we get even into the bigger, our workhorse switch with UPoE, 60 watts of power on one SKU, as well as M-Gig, which is the ability to provide 10 gigs of Ethernet or bandwidth over existing copper. And where that really saves you money is you don't need to rip out your existing copper cabling. You could still use those cables for multi-gig. Also, the 10 gig SFP plus uplink, we upgrade that stacking capability to 160 gigs. More scalable layer 3 routing, as well as modular power and modular fans. Now, as we go to our aggregation, you'll see that these are our full SFP fiber switches. So the 410 is our 1 gig SFP link, really for those areas where you need that 1 gig run that's over 100 meters or 300 feet, but still, but don't really need that speed or bandwidth. So very similar to our 350, except that it is a fiber switch. Now our 425 is our 10 gig SFP plus switch with 40 gig QSFP plus uplinks and 160 gig flexible stacking. And what that really means in terms of flexible stacking is you could choose any of these switch ports and use those as their stacking ports. Again, scalable routing, as well as modular power and modular fans. With that, with our portfolio, that really fits into multiple segments, specifically, large campuses and branch offices. So with large campuses, we definitely fit in that aggregation, collapse core, as well as the access layer. And then in our branch, we fit everywhere there. And really, why do we fit in those areas specifically is that gigabit and multi-gig access with layer 3 routing and PoE, as well as those 10 gig Ethernet fiber uplinks, as well as stacking for that resiliency, specifically, cross-stack link aggregation and failover, dynamic failover, and all those great technologies that you get with a stacked topology. Now, we talked about the switches, but we also have other Cisco Meraki families. I always talk about the full stack. When we talk about the full stack solution, the ability to see a lot more into your network if you have all Meraki products. So here, these are what we offer today: MR access points, MX security appliances, the switches that we talked about today, enterprise mobile management, extending that all the way to the client, specifically very helpful in those public sectors, especially schools, where you can track your iPads, wipe them, make sure they don't leave the school, etc. Your MC communications, phones without PBX, as well as an MV security camera, cameras that don't need MVR, all through the cloud, and all stored through the cloud. Complete really solution for your network through really that single pane of glass of management. So that's where the power comes from. So what are the next steps? Definitely check out our blog to learn more, meraki.cisco.com/blog. That's where we talk about a lot of our use cases, of, customer case studies, as well as new features that come out. Check us out with a risk-free eval. You get a free trial. We usually ship those out within a couple of days so that you can get a Meraki device in your hand and you can really see how powerful that thing really is. Join the Meraki community as well, community.meraki.com, where you'll find a lot of our customers discussing Meraki products, help troubleshoot your network issues, and you'll see that we have a very, very active community that can help you out, not only with your Meraki deployment, but really with anything else. Of course, we do have a support team that is 24/7, so if you can't find your answer on the community, definitely reach out to your support team where they'll be able to answer any questions there. So that's the presentation for today. I'll leave the rest of this for questions. So if you have any questions, definitely ask us those questions in the Q&A box. So there's a question in regards to integration with just Cisco in general, and Cisco Catalyst switches. Definitely, today we really are in Cisco's overall roadmap, and we are part of the solutions that Cisco offers, and we really integrate really well into the DNA Center today. You'll see that we do have integration in the SDA fabric. You'll see that we can integrate fully into a Cisco Meraki as well as hybrid Cisco Catalyst deployment. And we really do, for those larger campus networks, definitely Meraki at the ag as well as at the access, where you will do a lot of may do a lot of changes, whereas at the core, where you may leave it and a bit more static, get those nexuses where you'll be able to run that big hunky core switch there. So definitely compatibility there. So for layer 3 topology, do we need all layer 3 switches? So the topology views, those are all Meraki devices. So it does require a Meraki switch. As long as those routes are on the Meraki switch, we'll be able to get some insight into your network. But if you're talking about hybrid Meraki Catalyst, DNA Center also has a lot of integration. So we integrate as well with DNA Center through APIs, where they can grab a lot of the information from the dashboard and integrate that there as well. There's a question about role-based access in order to manage different product suites. Definitely. So if we go into the administrator's view, we could definitely also see a lot of options in terms of limiting specific people to specific networks. Each specific product does live in its own specific network that you can control. There's also a question about what OS Meraki runs. That's so we don't run a specific operating system. Everything is proprietary to Cisco Meraki. So all of that is run in the box and then connects to the dashboard where you do all your configurations. If the internet goes down on a specific site, can we make configuration changes by directly plugging into the switch? So the answer is yes. So if you all recall, I did go to switch.meraki.com. That brings you to the local status page of your switch where you can make some configurations. It's very rare that well, I guess if the internet goes down, that's a bit different. It's very rare that dashboard goes down by itself, but you can definitely make some configurations. You won't get the full suite, but you will definitely get there. And the great thing is you don't need a console cable. Every single switch has a management port. You can just connect your laptop and it'll get a DHCP server address where you can connect to the switch. Can I add Meraki access points to part of my network without any Meraki switches? All our products work individually, and they work with other components as well. So, for example, you can definitely plug a Meraki AP into a Catalyst switch, but with that full stack intelligence with Meraki access points and Meraki switches, you can see a lot more into your network that way. Can you whitelist the MAC address and then it can move around the network? Certainly. So whitelist on MAC, port security, all that is available. Definitely recommend .1x. So it's very powerful with ICE integration with identity systems engine, services engine. We can definitely do a lot of integration with Meraki and also the ability to really control who's connecting to your wired network. What is the Meraki's target market network of 1,000 nodes too big? Definitely not. We have networks with thousands and thousands of switches. And it definitely works with a lot of third-party software as well. I see here SolarWinds. We definitely integrate with syslog, SNMP, things like that. So definitely supported. Let's see. So I think I've answered most of the questions that I can answer today. If there are a bit more I see a bit more technical questions. If you have those, definitely reach out to your support hotline. I believe it's cisco.meraki.com/support. If I'm wrong, it's definitely on the website there where we have 24/7 technical phone support. You usually get someone within a couple minutes, so definitely reach out if you have that. I have one last question. I assume PoE switches are available too. All our SKUs have PoE variants, and they're all PoE plus. So PoE is definitely supported on our switches. If you have any other questions, things like pricing, licensing, costs like that, definitely reach out to your sales rep to get a bit more detail as to what we can get you. If you have technical questions, your SE is also your sales rep is also great. They'll reach out to your SE who can answer those questions there. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar today. I hope that was informative, and I hope that all of you will we'll get that Cisco Meraki free eval and see how powerful Cisco Meraki is and how we can better help you better manage your network. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day.